graphic design, and so they think that they are because I want to make art. No, it's not art. Art, if you want to do art, go into illustration, work for yourself.
Today on Time We Discuss, I want to welcome Carlos Steiger, and it's time we discuss what it's like working as a graphic audio-visual designer. Carlos, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. uh Forgive my English, as you know, I'm Argentinian, so
No, it's all good. I love speaking with people all over the world. It gives me a much broader perspective on what things are like from a career perspective all over. So I absolutely love it. I'd like to ask what a typical day is like. So in your career, in your job, what is a typical day like for you working as like a graphic, visual, audio designer?
typical day for me is grab some mate, this Argentinian drink. With this is my fuel for the day, and this basically go to Jira. It's the platform we use for task management, and I guess go to the brief, see how complex or not it is, see the deadline, and then I manage my time. Sometimes a deadline is far away, but the things, I know the task is time consuming, so I start earlier. Sometimes, I know it's a 5 minute job, so I can start like I can wait to start it. But basically, it's like that. It's organizing my time, and then going into the and having a quick chat when needed from when the with the marketing people requesting me the job. Sometimes it's quite straightforward because it's I developed already templates, which is like just update information. So sometimes it's about creating new projects from scratch, or going to a location to film an interview. That's why audiovisual, because I do filming, video editing, as well as graphic and digital design, like interactive material and so.
Do you work for yourself? Do you have your own business, or are you employed with another company and you happen to work remotely? What is that all like?
I've been working for the same company for the last 9 years here in the UK. But back in time, I used to work freelance. I used to run my own studio, which is really complicated, for example, in Argentina, because clients will pay you from 90 days after, but you to your suppliers, you have to pay at day one, and you pay taxes since the very first day you create your company, whether you are producing or not. Now things are improving because with the new president, a lot of things are going into good place. But at that time it was complicated. But yes, now I've been working for the same company for the last 9 years. We give support to 18 universities here in the UK.
So how much of your time are you actually spending out filming versus editing versus doing audio stuff? What is that blend like for you?
My audiovisual projects are, let's say, 30% of my queue, while the other 70 is more on the graphic side.
Let's talk software packages. Okay, so what do you typically use? What have you found to be most beneficial? What are those hidden gems that other people might not be aware of? What are some of those tools in your toolkit that you're using?
No, the thing is that, as my laptop is managed by the headquarters, it's not that I can use wherever the software I want. So it's quite straightforward, quite Adobe package, and a bit of Blender, a little, but not and for me as an illustrator, I love Procreate on the iPad. But that's different story. I see most times people studying graphic design, and so they think that they are because I want to make art. No, it's not art. Art, if you want to do art, go into illustration, work for yourself, do whatever. In design, you work at the service of a brand, at the service of content. Sorry to spoil it, but
One thing I like to talk about is education, and especially for people that are outside of the United States, because I've very limited knowledge when it comes to how education works in getting into different careers when it comes from other countries. So talk to me about that. Being in the UK, what is education like there? How important was it to, and assuming you did, you may not have, do you need to go to university to do what you're doing? How important is that? Talk to me about how the education ties into what you're doing.
I grew up in Argentina, so all my students' years were in Argentina. I studied advertising, and my first jobs were in advertising agencies as an illustrator, as a copywriter. Then, because I love design and study, I tried to. I got involved into projects, but I have to say, I I I never studied graphic design as a career, as a formal in uni. I just have the skills, and that's the thing. Most people say no because I studied the war. Yeah, but if you can prove it, a portfolio speaks much louder than whatever the title you have.
If someone is just starting out and they want to build up that portfolio, what is the best way to go about doing that? I know some people will create like fake products or something like that to kind of illustrate the graphic design or their video or something like that. But what is a really good way that you found either personally or talking to other people, really good ways of building up your portfolio right from the start?
Reviewing a lot of brands that you like, try to not just put things over the table, but think about do like reverse engineering. So when you see a brand, say, okay, this is the which could be the brief that this designer got. So you go to the psychology of the brand, the goals the brand has, the target. Once you have all that, the blueprint, then you are able to, okay, considering this blueprint, I will start making a design for this brand, not just copying.
When it comes to video production, I think of different, specifically animated videos, like your Pixar films or something like that. And you might have people that it's like they are doing character animation or they are doing background design or something like that. When it comes to your job, what you're doing, are there different specialties that go along with it where it's like you're only editing certain stuff, you're only doing color balancing? Does anything like that happen, or it's like you're doing it all?
I'm doing all. I'm controlling the filming, I set up the lights, I set up the microphones, yeah. Then I do the color grading. Yes, it's yeah.
And you talked about audio stuff as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. What kinds of things are you doing with audio? Are you doing anything that is specific audio, where you're doing like radio commercials, for lack of better words, or you're recording people that are just doing voiceovers? Are you doing anything that is just audio, or it's audio in the scope of video as well?
Both, because some explainer videos I need to monitor the voiceover that then I will use for an animated video explaining like motion graphics and so with a voiceover. So yes, and I'm also a singer, so I love to. That's why I got into audio in the first place.
And I'm assuming probably at this stage, a lot of stuff is probably sent to you as digital files. Like, even though you might not be recording something, it might come to you via some kind of cloud product where you download it, you edit it or something like that, give it back to the client. I'm assuming that happens fairly frequently.
Yes, because most people think that they know much more than what they really know. So yeah, this is terrible when I need to clean audios. Like, come on, you don't listen. There's a dog barking behind you.
It's interesting. I was talking to Henry Willard back in, I think it was 2024, and he's also in the UK. And he does primarily voiceover work, if I remember. He's a voiceover audio engineer. And we were talking about cleaning up audio. And I think he was talking about a lot during the pandemic, I want to say, that there was a sudden influx of lesser quality recordings that were coming in because everyone was recording in their own space.
Yes, and the thing is that not as a consequence of the pandemic, but it kind of almost at the same time, a lot of audiobooks came out to the market, and a lot of people trying to, because well, it has to do with pandemic, because when they were unable to go to studios, to proper studios, they start recording home, and they were using wherever the pillow, wherever they had by hand to make it sound better. But sometimes when your best is not enough, here we come to save you.
When it comes to your work, are you ever working with people directly on the other side of the world? Do you have flexibility with your time because you might be working with people over other side of the world? What is that like?
When I was in Argentina, I used to manage the advertising for the company I was working for all the South Cone region. So I was managing Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina. And I used to work a lot with people in Portugal, and uh, and yes, and then sometimes yeah, time schedule is terrible, but I have to say I've been always lucky because they were not expecting me to work nonsense hours because of their had a different schedule. Here it's great because if your contract says you work till 5, it's till 5. 5:01, you are not there.
It also looks like you're working from home. How common is
I
that
work
in
from yes. I go to the office once a week. I go to campus once a week on Wednesdays.
here in the States? There's been more of a push to go back to, you heard like the return to office mandates, you know? What's it been like over in the UK? Have they been more flexible about that? Or is it more like they're following that trend as well? What's that like?
No, no, it depends on the company, but it's basically it's a real estate problem because they as they paid for the buildings and so they don't want to feel that their money is useless because they're still paying the rent for those buildings. So the thing is that we have to use it because we have it. No, here is more. We will use it when we really need to.
I don't know if you would know the answer to this, but when it comes to the world of video production, what type of videos are most common? Are they like like demo videos? Is it more commercials? Is it strong brand oriented? If someone wants to get into making videos and editing videos or producing videos, what types of videos are they more than likely going to expect? I'm assuming it's not going to be cinema most likely, but what can they
Yeah.
expect?
No, back in time, working for advertisement agencies, it was like products, was like commercials. Here, it's more about interviews for PhD because working for universities and promoting universities and promoting and videos on the testimonials on people moving from academia into the private sector and translating skills from academia into private sector. It goes more like life experience and they go more that way
Okay.
and then explainer videos, so how to guides, how to submit a timesheet in that university for work. People working for the university, and they need to load the timesheet, and they need to understand the platform. So yeah, I do the animation for people to understand how to.
One question I like to ask people is one unexpected perk they might get from working at a particular job. So, for instance, if you work at a coffee shop, maybe you get a free coffee when you get there, or maybe if you work in
No,
a
no,
restaurant.
no perks here.
No,
No perks here.
you get
No,
your
no.
paycheck. That's your perk.
Yes, I bring my own stuff. I invest in my own equipment for filming sometimes because I'm telling, look, I need to improve the quality of what we do, and I end up investing on my own equipment.
That's a really interesting point because a lot of times people, they say, well, here's the camera you're going to use. Here's the software you're going to use. Here's the whatever. But people, a lot of times they might say like, well, but my stuff is better. I can give you a better product. I'm going to use my own stuff. How common is that? And is that accepted? Is that frowned upon? What's that like?
Most people, they may know what they want, but they have no idea on how that what they want is actually produced. So people may think that because having a camera and know how to film is not the same, and most people just it happens the same with deadlines. For example, I need to explain time to time. Look, yes, that is possible, not in the frame window you want it.
One other question I'd like to ask, I like to identify barriers for people. And, when One of the examples I use is that when I went to university, I went to learn about music recording and being an audio engineer is what I wanted to do, and I learned a little too late that if I wanted to be the audio engineer that I wanted to be, I needed to be in a big city. I needed to be in LA or Philadelphia or something like that. And for me, that was not for me. I didn't want to do that. So if I know that earlier on or thought about that earlier on, it might have impacted what I had done with my education, so on and so forth. So what is a barrier that you can think of that if someone knew this early on, they might say, you know what? This is not for me. So maybe I don't like being in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. This is not for me. What is something like that where someone could identify and say, this barrier, you know, I hadn't considered it. This is no longer for me.
When you know that you love things that there's no market in your country, your career, though, well, sometimes has to do more with the access you have to things that what you really would love to. And most people buy this thing, oh, the passion. Well, if the passion pays the bills, great. If the passion will not pay the bills and you have a family to provide for, do whatever is there that you can do and leave the passion for your free time.
Carlos, unfortunately, I'm running out of time. One thing I like to do whenever I'm speaking with someone, I like to give them the opportunity to talk about a project they're working on, a cause they believe in, a business. It's my way of saying thank you. So if there's something specific you'd like to discuss, the floor is yours.
I would invite you to go to my Instagram account. It's Chuck Seigers Caricatures. I would then send you the, well, I already follow you on Instagram, so you can put from there, because that is, you know, as I said, that's my passion. This is my job.
That's awesome. I'll make sure I get the links for that for everyone else. I'll put them in the show notes. They'll be in the description. They'll be on the website. They'll be all over the place. So when people are trying to find you, they can easily do that.
Good, great.
Carlos, it's been absolutely awesome having you on Time to Discuss, and we learned all about what it's like being an audio visual designer.